On today's episode, I'm talking all about the great, wonderful world of YouTube. And as content creators, it's very tempting to put everything we have onto YouTube. I get it. It's free. It's fun. But should you? Should you really?
Sound matters. Be heard. Welcome to the podcast where you get exclusive behind-the-scenes tips to make your own show sound truly spectacular. This is Podtastic Audio.
Hey, what's happening? How are you doing? How's that podcast of yours coming along? Do you even have a podcast? Well, maybe you're thinking about starting one. I don't know if I should make one, create one. I don't even know how to start. What do I even do? How do you make it sound that great? Really? Listen, ain't that hard. If I can do it, you can do it. And I want to say thank you so much for being here. I am Chris, and I'm from the original Chris and Christine Show podcast, and we knew nothing about nothing when we created that show. People seem to like it, and they ask me, well, how did you pull that off? Well, here I am, and here we are with Podtastic Audio, the show which I have created to help you create your show, because people asking me, how did you even make that happen? And I'm like, really? Well, you guys don't make one too? You guys don't make your show sound just as great? Because I thought everybody made their shows great. Well, maybe I was just listening to all the professional sounding shows, not so much the amateur shows. So when I did hear some of the amateur shows, I was like, whoa, what is going on? Why can't you guys get your what together and make an amazing sounding show? So that's why this show has started, and that's why this show is what it is today. Podtastic Audio is designed to help you create a better sounding podcast for your show without having to spend tons and tons of money on gear and stuff and junk you probably don't even need. And I know most of you that are listening right now probably do not have a ton of money invested into your podcast. And that is totally fine. You can podcast and create your show however you want to do it. You are the captain of your podcast ship, like I always say. So have fun, happy podcasting, be an amazing content creator for your audience. And that's really what matters in the long run anyways, is whether or not your audience listens, gravitates, and understands and respects everything that you say or everything you show them. So speaking of showing people things, I know a lot of content creators out there are going to tell you that video is important and video is incredibly valuable, and you cannot make a successful show without doing some kind of video. Video. I was in the video game well before I was in any kind of audio podcasting game at all. In fact, this little company called YouTube, perhaps you've heard of it. I was on YouTube way back, right around the time that Google actually purchased YouTube. I was looking at my personal account I have with YouTube, and I went back to see what was the original video that I posted on my YouTube account. How long ago was it, and what was that video? It looks like right around in December of 2007. So it's December right now as we record this episode. So, 15 years ago or whatever it is, I actually started posting videos on my YouTube account. Now, I did not have any reason, or I wasn't thinking about, becoming this great YouTuber or anything like that. I decided to post videos there just because it was just a place to post videos, and which made it very easy to share these videos. Because you remember back in the day, back in 2007, people did not really have a lot of storage space on smartphones. Smartphones weren't even a thing. I know the iPhone just came out, but it wasn't really even a thing like it is today. So if you wanted to share something video wise, it was so big, you couldn't really send it via email to somebody, although I tried. Trust me, I tried everything in the book to get people to view my videos I created. So YouTube came out. I figured, why not post it there, share a link to it, and then everybody can consume and view my videos. Now, the very oldest video I could find on my YouTube channel was one of me riding in the desert. I used to go to the desert a lot. Being in Southern California, the desert this time of year is when everybody would go to the desert with all their desert toys, being like dune buggies, motorcycles, ATVs, things like that. You can ride around in the desert, which is a lot of, there's sand terrain, there's kind of rock terrain, there's dirt terrain. It's a lot of variations of terrain, a lot of open spaces and hills and valleys and different things you can ride around on. So the earlier videos that I could find were of me riding my quad ATV, and I was riding it around very slowly because the dog that I had, it was a beagle dog named Sparky, and she loved to go for rides, riding around on the ATV on my lap. So when I did not let her ride around with me, she would chase the ATV around and bark and howl like, "Come on, let me on. Come on, let me on." So there was a video of me actually putting around the yard over there in the desert, and she was chasing me and barking and howling. I think that is the very first video that I had put onto my actual YouTube account, following some other videos of me riding around in the desert. In fact, the most popular video that I have on my account was of me. It's only like a 15-second clip, maybe 20 seconds at the most. Back in those days, it's all we had. We didn't have fancy editors. We didn't have 4K cameras. We had literally like flip phones with like little low-res resolution, or even my camera. I think it might have been my camera, which had really low quality resolution. I'm talking like digital camera, had a video feature on it. And I would put my videos on there. And it was me riding a small little like miniature motorcycle, just riding it around like a 10, 20-second clip. But for some reason, like I don't even know why, but for some reason, that video, I just checked it, has over 12,000 views on that video. And I don't even know why. But maybe because it's older, I don't know. People seem to like it. I don't know. It's kind of the weirdest things, what people are interested in when you post videos onto YouTube. Now, I've been doing this since 2007. Now, I have not always posted videos, but when I did, I would just throw them onto my YouTube channel. Now, when it comes to podcasting, like we live in the world today with podcasting here in 2023, moving into 2024, YouTube is so massive. They are so big. They are probably, I would say maybe the biggest video platform in the entire world would be YouTube. And the thing about YouTube is that it's entirely free for anybody with a Gmail account to have their own YouTube channel. So when it comes to podcasting, I can see where a lot of podcasters would leverage that to their advantage, whether it's video or even a still image audiogram version of their podcast. YouTube makes it very easy, very simple for a lot of shows to just dump everything they have into YouTube, and then they would be considered a YouTuber. Now, I get it. I understand. It's great. It does a lot of, it's easy to use, and it's entirely free to put all of your content onto YouTube. And it makes it very easy to share stuff, view stuff. Listen, I totally get it. So I know that although you probably should take your content and spread it out across a multitude of different places, but I can understand why somebody might actually want to just dump everything into YouTube. But here are some reasons why you might consider exclusively using YouTube. Number one is audience reach and discoverability. You see, YouTube as being the largest and most popular video sharing platform in the entire world, leveraging YouTube for podcasting provides a significant opportunity to reach a massive audience, because I don't even know the number, but how many people are actually watching YouTube every second of every day? It's got to be an extremely massive number. The platform's search and recommendation algorithms can help users discover your content. Even if they're not subscribed to you, they can still find your content. This will potentially lead to increasing visibility and audience growth. So YouTube is a great place to actually put your stuff on. I'd say stuff being like your content, put it on YouTube as a means for discoverability. They've got it nailed down for discoverability purposes. They've really got it figured out. Although it does help if you have a larger audience, they do push the larger, bigger shows out in front of more people more frequently than the smaller shows. So that's kind of the catch-22 when it comes to being discovered on YouTube. The second thing really to think about when it comes to putting all of your eggs on the YouTube train really is monetization opportunities. And that is because YouTube offers several monetization options for content creators, such as the YouTube Partner Program, which allows creators to earn money through ads. Now, last I heard, to make money through this, you have to have at least 1,000 subscribers or X amount of hours of video watched. And then you might actually be able to make some money directly off YouTube. I've made money from YouTube also myself, but I have never gotten paid directly from YouTube. How did I do it? Well, through a third party. They actually purchased my content, my video content. They actually saw it, liked it. They wanted to buy it so they can use it for their stuff. And my own video content, yes, has been on national television. Stuff that I've created, video that I've shot, has been on national television shows. Now, YouTube didn't pay me for that. A third party saw that, paid me directly to have the rights to it so they can use it for television and media and other purposes. That's kind of how I've gotten paid. Although I've never gotten paid directly from YouTube, I've never had an account that had enough following or a large enough audience that would warrant even being paid directly from YouTube. And don't forget, YouTube, they also take a cut. So keep that in mind if you're trying to do business directly through YouTube with YouTube. And of course, the very last thing here about hosting everything on YouTube itself is there's integrated community building. Now, I've always said this before, and I'll say it again, is that is YouTube at the core of it. It is a social media platform. You see, YouTube provides a comprehensive ecosystem for community building. I'm talking the YouTube comment section, live chat features, and the community tab allows podcasters, if you want to do a podcast on YouTube, to engage directly with their audience. This integrated community experience fosters the sensation of the connection and loyalty among the followers. By keeping all content on YouTube, podcasters can consolidate their audience interactions within a single platform, making it easier to manage and nurture their community. Now, it's important to note that while these reasons highlight the advantages of using YouTube exclusively, but content creators should carefully consider their goals, target audience, and overall content strategy. Diversifying across platforms can still offer benefits such as reaching different demographics and minimizing risks associated with the changes in platform policies and or the algorithms itself. Everyone talks about that YouTube algorithm. How do you break the algorithm? Well, here today, I know I said a lot of positive things about YouTube and why you probably should put things on YouTube, but what happens if things go wrong? What happens if you get deplatformed? Now, deplatforming can happen on pretty much any platform, really. But the nice thing about the audio podcasting space with an RSS feed is that you own that feed, whether or not Apple or Spotify or any of the gazillion different audio podcast players out there decide to actually have your feed go to their player so they listeners can access your content very easily with the listener's podcast player of choice. But if we're going to talk exclusively about YouTube here, you want to know there are certain guidelines in certain ways that a show could be deplatformed from YouTube specifically. Now, YouTube does change their guidelines quite frequently, so you may think you're okay one day, and one day you're not okay, and the next thing you know, poof, you're gone. Just like that, they kicked you off. So, YouTube may shut down a channel for various reasons, but it's important for content creators to adhere to the platform's community guidelines and policy. Here are 5 reasons a YouTuber could have their own channel shut down. Now, when that happens, you are done. You are dead in the water. So I would suggest not putting everything you own into YouTube. Don't put all your faith into YouTube. But if you did, here are some things you have to think about. Number 1, violating community guidelines. Now, what does this really mean? Well, it's obviously a no-brainer. Come on now. It means basically YouTube has community guidelines that outline what is acceptable on the platform. Violating these guidelines can result in warnings, strikes, or immediate channel termination. Common violations include hate speech, harassment, violence, and explicit content. Now, what you think is explicit content or not explicit content, it may not even matter because YouTube they hold all the cards. They can pull the plug on you for any reason they deem fit, even though you may say they're like, oh, what I said here, what we showed here is not really, explicit content, but they may view it as such. So it may actually ban you. So that's one reason why I would not suggest putting everything onto YouTube by itself. The next thing here is number 2, copyright infringement. Now, I see this all the time. Uploading content that infringes on somebody else's copyright without permission can lead to channel termination. This includes music, videos, or any other copyrighted material without their proper licenses or permissions. And I know a lot of people do this with YouTube. They'll put videos on there, they put music in the background of some video. I've done that myself. I've got a few strikes myself where I've actually have made videos and I always like to put music behind the video. And for the longest time, I would just grab whatever song that I liked that I had a copy of on my hard drive in my computer. I would put that song up with the YouTube video. And a couple times YouTube has blacklisted it and says, hey, this song is in your video and you don't have the rights to play it. So either you can remove the song or actually they remove it for you. So just nothing on it, just blank audio for the most part. Or they'll say, hey, here's a choice of other songs you can use in the video instead. And that's how I found the YouTube Studio library with all kinds of music and songs. And I've been using those ever since because YouTube has given me the green light on those songs. There's a lot of songs to use. So you use them in videos, you can use them in your podcast, however you want to do it. Just remember not to use copyrighted information or copyrighted stuff that somebody else created on your YouTube channel. That's an easy way to get kicked off YouTube permanently. Okay, so moving on to number 3, and that is misleading content or scams. Now, I've seen a lot of YouTubers get kicked off permanently, no matter how big their audience size was, no matter how much money they made for YouTube. YouTube saw these as scams. In fact, they were scams. So YouTube said, nope, no more. We're getting rid of you. We don't care. Now you see creating and promoting misleading content, scams, or fraudulent activities is against YouTube's policies. This includes deceptive practices that can harm viewers or manipulate them for personal gain. Basically saying, I've got a contest. If you pay X amount of dollars for this contest ticket that I'm doing for this drawing, and you actually have no prize to give away or never ever give a prize away, but you just collect all that money, or if you're lying directly to your audience, it's another big one too. That's why I always say, try to be honest with your, with your audience. Tell them the truth. The more you lie, the more deceptive you are towards your audience, can easily put you in a path to be kicked or banned or blocked completely off of YouTube. Not to mention, your audience is going to hate you. And you'd be surprised, if you were very honest about whatever it is you're talking about. Say you went through something personal or something that you think may appear to be not as cool or as hip as you might think it is. Your audience might actually relate better with you if you were very honest with them. And that goes with YouTube. It goes with all platforms for the most part. The more honesty, the more realism. People seem to gravitate towards the realism factor versus the wow dazzle factor. That's probably why, if you think about it, reality television was so massive. I mean, I guess it's kind of big, but not as big as it once was. I'd say early 2000s, mid 2000s, reality TV was enormous. And I think although a lot of the shows were kind of fake, it's that the reality of it, or the reality of the situations that they were in, seemed more relatable to the audience. And I think that's why we all kind of we were sucked into all those shows thinking oh, I get that. I've been in situations like that. I understand what they're going through because it's relatable to me. And we appeared what we thought it was real. Like it was all happening, to a real person. It was reality. It's not always reality. Some of it's always taped, of course, but don't mislead your audience at all. So moving on to number 4, it says here is that repeated policy violations. Now, this is what happened to me is that I was putting music into my shows I probably shouldn't have. So if a YouTuber is constantly violating YouTube's policies, just ignoring the warnings, because they'll give you warnings and say, hey, what are you doing? That song doesn't belong to you. Or, hey, that video has content which we don't think is appropriate for our YouTube, website. So you need to take that down. So if the YouTuber just says, screw you, I'm doing what I want, after they have warned them many times, YouTube has a 3-strike system. And so they give you, 3 strikes, you're out kind of deal. If you just say, screw you, I'm not fixing anything, then YouTube can take those strikes against you. And eventually, poof, you're gone. You're not on YouTube. And if you only have YouTube as your one and only, content source for everything, then what are you going to do next? Because you didn't decide to put a podcast together. You didn't decide to put anything else together. And what are you going to do? Go to the YouTube down the street? What's the competitor to YouTube? Nothing really. So yeah, I mean, you gotta play nice with YouTube if you're going to put everything on YouTube. So be aware of your violations and make sure you never ever do that again. So the 5th and final way that a show could be permanently banned off of YouTube is, now this is a big one here. I see a lot of people do this one, especially in the podcasting space, and that is impersonation or identity misrepresentation. Now, what does that really mean? Well, it means that creating content that impersonates somebody else or misrepresents one's identity can lead to account termination. YouTube takes issues related to impersonation seriously to protect the integrity of the platform and its users. Do not impersonate somebody else. Don't say you're somebody else. And I know it can happen in podcasting too. It can pretty much happen anywhere. I know there's a lot of accounts out there, especially YouTube channels out there that kind of mimic or make fun of other people, other celebrities, things of that sort. But if you do it kind of as a gag or a spinoff, or you kind of make it obvious that you're actually not that person, then it's a little different. What I think we're talking about here is that in the world of deep fakes, and now I think the audio can be mimicked to sound like somebody else. You could totally make a podcast with AI and make a podcast sound like Tom Cruise or make it sound like somebody else. And I know there are even voice actors out there that can do a pretty good job doing a show to sound exactly like somebody else. Back in the day, they had these radio commercials. I don't know if they still do, but they had these commercials where a voice actor would come on sounding like Arnold Schwarzenegger or somebody like that. And at the very end, they always got to say celebrity voices impersonated. The reason why they do that is so they do not get sued, of course, because the real person can say, I've never said that. I don't endorse that product. What are you talking about? So it's all about suing and getting sued and things like that. So you always want to adhere to all of the YouTube guidelines and rules and policies they have in place. Now, if you accidentally violate any of these rules, yeah, YouTube has the rights to kick you and get rid of you. So it's probably in your best interest to diversify your content across multiple platforms. YouTube's great and all, but like I said, a single platform, whether it be YouTube, which is the biggest, they have no problem at all getting rid of you, chopping you down, getting rid of you, no matter how big you are. YouTube has cut down and gotten rid of some big, massive names off their channel by simply violating their rules and guidelines they put in place. So YouTube, you would think that YouTube is not some small mom and pop, place that actually needs big names on their show. They have plenty of big names on their show. So if they get rid of a few or a few hundred, it doesn't mean nothing to them. So your little channel that you have with maybe 1,000 subscribers or even 100,000 subscribers, can still get the axe of YouTube if you violate, even accidentally violate, one of the rules in their guidelines. So what could you do is diversify your content across multiple platforms other than YouTube. Don't dump everything onto a single platform. Now, here are 5 reasons why you should avoid placing all of your content onto a single platform like YouTube. Now, number 1 is risk mitigation. Now, that means that depending solely on one platform exposes you to risk of sudden policy changes, like I mentioned earlier. Because one day you think your videos are just fine, and next thing you know, you're getting kicked out of YouTube. And before you know it, you're like, what do I do now? I don't even know. Okay, number 2 is your audience reach. You see, different platforms attract diverse audiences. By spreading your content across multiple platforms, you can reach a broader and more varied audience. So, for example, if you have your audio podcast on multiple, player platforms, not everybody listens to Apple, and not everybody listens to Spotify, and not everybody listens to iHeart. But if you put it on a bunch of different platforms, you can get people to listen in their own way on the platform that they like. What if people don't like YouTube? I know it's kind of hard to believe. There are people out there that just do not watch YouTube. So if you put everything on one platform, the people that like to listen to stuff, say on Apple Podcasts or Spotify or Pandora or whatever, they are left out of the dust because they cannot physically consume your content. You're blocking them out by putting everything on that one YouTube platform. So number 3 is monetization opportunities. Now, I mentioned this earlier because you can put your shows on YouTube, and YouTube, yes, they will pay you. But by diversifying across multiple platforms allows you to explore multiple revenue streams. Talking advertising, sponsorship, merchandise. You can have fan support versus with Patreon. There's lots of different ways you can earn money overall versus trying to rely solely on hoping that YouTube will give you the green light to put ads in your show, and you can make money directly from YouTube, which really isn't that much. Most content creators that are on YouTube exclusively, they do have other deals going on in the background versus just dumping everything on YouTube. They don't seem to rely on YouTube other than just to host their stuff and get their message out to a greater audience. So number 4 really is platform-specific features. You see, each platform has its own set of features and tools that can enhance your content, engage with the audience. Tailoring content to fit these features and utilizing them effectively can lead to a better audience interaction. For example, say short-form content may work well on places like TikTok, Instagram, Reels, things of that sort, where longer videos might find more success on YouTube. Now, I know that with YouTube, they do have YouTube Shorts now, which is kind of the same thing as TikTok. So maybe a video might work better there. I noticed that the videos that are on the short form, spectrum actually do have better numbers than the longer videos do. It's just probably because the algorithm is set in place to probably capture maybe only a few seconds of play on a reel or on a short versus the full length video, which actually, to get a single view on a video, as far as I know, up to the date I'm recording this episode, I believe it was at least 30 seconds of play on that same video. And the final reason why you should put your, content out there on multiple platforms versus solely focusing on one, that being YouTube, is that the adaptability to audience preferences. Not everybody's going to be watching things or keep on doing the same exact thing year after year, all the time. Audience preferences and trends, they can vary across different platforms. By diversifying, you can adapt to your content to suit the preferences of different audiences. Like I said before in a previous episode I've done, is that your YouTube audience is going to be totally different than your podcast audio audience. This adaptability not only helps in retaining your existing audience, but also allows you to experiment with different content styles and formats to discover what works best for you. And more specifically on that, what works best to gain and capture and retain the audience you have built and to get more new members to your audience coming in. You see, while YouTube is a popular platform for content creators, spreading your content across multiple platforms provides a safety net, allowing you to navigate in the evolving landscape of online content creation and better connect with a wider audience. Hey, thank you once again for listening to this episode. And if you know anybody, or perhaps maybe you're on the fence of maybe creating a podcast, and you're like, I don't even know how or where, don't you worry, I will hook you up. You gotta head on over to podtasticaudio.com/easy, and I will personally help you design and create and even record your podcast for you. And I will catch you on the next episode.